A voltage source in a circuit is very important thing. An ideal DC voltage source produces constant load voltage across the load resistance. In other words, if a 10-watt battery connected to the variable load resistance from 1 ohm to 10 mega ohm and the battery is the ideal voltage source, then voltmeter reads exactly 10 watt across the load resistance, no matter whatever the load resistance it is. Also in a graph you can see that it shows a clear straight line parallel to the load resistance which is marked on the x-axis, which means the voltage source has no internal resistance. However, ideal voltage source cannot exist in the nature because when the load resistance approaches zero, the load current approaches infinity and no real voltage source can produce infinite current because real voltage source has some internal resistance. To understand this, think about a 10-watt battery having a resistance of 1 ohm and connected in a series with the load resistance of the 1 ohm. And when you measure the voltage drop across the load resistance, you will measure the 5 volt across the load resistance rather than the 10 watt. For the reason that another 5 volt drop across the source resistance. Now if you gradually increase the load resistance, the voltage drop across the load resistance also increases gradually. And at some instant you will notice that even after increasing the load resistance, voltage drop across the load resistance still remains constant and its value also approximately equal to the source voltage. And this region is called the stiff region, in which the voltage drop across the internal resistance is so less that one can ignore it. To achieve this state, the source resistance should be at least 100 times smaller than the load resistance. Or in other words, you can say the load resistance is 100 times greater than the source resistance. If any source satisfies this condition, then it is a stiff voltage source. This condition also shows that the minimum load resistance for stiff voltage source is equal to the 100 times the source resistance. So basically, as far as the value of load resistance is greater or equal to 100 times the source resistance, the source is called the stiff voltage source and one can easily ignore the source resistance. Thank you for clicking this video, and if you like it, do subscribe this channel.